I sit here in my new apartment staring at a wedding band I took off 2 years back. 3 years ago, I believed I had it all. A loving wife, close family, ties, a solid career. Everything collapsed in a single evening. The hardest truth was not my wife's betrayal. It was watching my own parents stand beside her and my cousin asking me to forgive them for the sake of keeping everyone comfortable. Before I tell you how my own blood turned their backs on me, let me know where you are watching from in the comments. Hit that like button and subscribe, because this story will show you what happens when loyalty means nothing to the people who are supposed to love you most. Now let me take you back to where it all started. My name is Adam. I turned 32 last March. I work as a software engineer here in Denver, Colorado. 4 years back, I married someone I thought was my soulmate. Julie was 29, then teaching elementary school kids with patience and warmth that made everyone love her. We crossed paths at a friend's backyard barbecue one summer afternoon. She laughed at my terrible jokes. I could not stop looking at her smile. We dated for 2 years, learning each other's habits, dreams, and fears. Our wedding was small but perfect, surrounded by everyone who mattered. Our life together felt complete. We bought a modest house in a quiet suburb with a backyard big enough for our 2 dogs. We talked about babies, maybe starting a family in a year or 2. I poured myself into work, taking extra projects and staying late to build our savings. Julie always supported my ambitions. She would have dinner ready, candles lit, asking about my day. I thought we were building something unbreakable. I thought we were partners in every sense. Then Kyle entered our lives in a different way. Kyle is my cousin, 30 years old, son of my father's younger brother. We grew up almost like siblings, playing basketball in driveways, sneaking snacks during family gatherings, covering for each other when we got in trouble. But Kyle struggled as an adult. Jobs never lasted long. Bills piled up. Relationships fell apart. Still, he was family. I cared about him despite his struggles. 6 months before my world shattered, Kyle rang my phone late one Tuesday night. His voice cracked as he explained he just lost his delivery job and his landlord kicked him out for missing rent. He had nowhere to turn. Could he crash with us temporarily, just until he landed something stable? I hesitated. Our home was our sanctuary. But then my parents called the next morning. Dad said family sticks together during hard times. Mom reminded me we had space. They made it sound like refusing would make me selfish. So I said yes. Julie agreed when I asked her. She nodded and said helping family was the right choice. We cleared some boxes from the guest area, though Kyle ended up sleeping on our living room sofa bed, since we needed that room for other storage. He promised it would only be a month, maybe 6 weeks maximum. He swore he was sending applications everywhere, hitting the pavement daily. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to be the good guy. Those first months seemed manageable. Kyle kept the living area tidy, washed dishes without being asked, even grilled burgers for us on weekends. I appreciated the effort. I was buried in a massive project at work, leaving before sunrise and returning after dark most days. Julie had summer break from teaching, so she stayed home frequently. I figured having company kept her from being lonely. When I walked in to find them watching movies together or laughing over something on their phones, I felt grateful they got along well. But there were details I missed because I trusted completely. Julie started wearing makeup around the house, styling her hair even when no one was coming over. I thought maybe she wanted to feel confident. Kyle suddenly joined a gym, posting selfies showing his progress. I assumed he was turning his life around. Julie checked her phone constantly, grinning at messages she never shared. I figured her teacher friends were planning something fun. Kyle kept extending his stay, claiming every job either fell through or was not quite right. 6 months passed. My parents kept defending him, saying patience and support were what family owed each other. I never questioned any of it. Why would I? This was my wife. This was my cousin. 2 people I gave my trust freely. Late September brought an ordinary Thursday that became the worst night I can remember. My team meeting got canceled around 6:30 that evening. I decided heading home early might be nice, maybe pick up Thai food Julie loved on the way. I pulled into our driveway at 7:30 earlier than I had been home in weeks. Julie's sedan sat in its usual spot, but every window in our house showed darkness. Strange. Julie hated sitting without lights once evening arrived. I grabbed my bag and approached the front entrance. Silence greeted me when I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The living room lay empty, Kyle's bedding folded neatly on the couch arm. I called out that I came home early. No response came back. Then I caught something faint drifting from upstairs. At first I convinced myself she was streaming something on her laptop in our bedroom. But as I moved toward the staircase, those sounds became clearer. Voices. 2 distinct voices. One belonged to Julie, the other was unmistakably male, and they were not coming from any screen. My chest tightened. My palms went slick with sweat as I climbed each step. My brain scrambled for innocent explanations. Maybe she video chatted with someone. Maybe she watched a show with volume too high. But something deep in my gut already knew the truth. I reached the second-floor hallway and walked toward our bedroom door. It stood partially open. Clear sounds reached my ears now. Julie's laugh, Kyle's voice, breathing patterns that made nausea rise in my throat. I pushed that door wider. Everything stopped. There they were, my wife and my cousin. On the bed Julie and I shared, in the room where I slept every night, in the home I opened to Kyle when he needed shelter. They froze when they finally noticed me standing there. Kyle launched himself upward like electricity shot through him. His face drained of color. He fumbled for clothes scattered across the floor. Julie yanked sheets around herself, tears already streaming down her face before she spoke a word. I could not move, could not breathe. My mind went blank except for one repeating thought. This cannot be real. This cannot be happening. Kyle stammered something about how this was not what it looked like, how they never meant for this to happen. His words tangled into nonsense. Julie reached toward me sobbing, begging me to wait to let her explain everything. Her voice sounded far away, even though she sat just feet from me. I finally found my voice. It came out cold and empty. Get out, both of you, right now. Kyle snatched his jeans and shirt, not even bothering to dress properly. He stumbled past me without making eye contact and thundered down the stairs. The front door slammed hard enough to shake the walls. Julie tried climbing out of bed, still clutching the sheet around herself. She kept saying my name through her tears, pleading for a chance to talk. But I turned and walked away. Down the stairs, grabbed my keys from the bowl by the door, got in my car. Julie appeared on the front porch calling after me, but I did not look back. I drove with no destination in mind. My hands gripped the wheel so tight my knuckles ached. I ended up at some random parking lot near a public park I barely recognized. I sat in that car through the entire night, watching the sky shift from black to gray to pale morning light. My phone buzzed non-stop. Julie called 47 times before I stopped counting. Text messages flooded in each one, more desperate than the last. I read none of them. I just stared at the dashboard, replaying every moment, every sign I missed. How long had this been going on? How many afternoons did they spend together while I worked to build our future? How many times did they lie straight to my face? The questions spiraled endlessly with no answers. When dawn finally broke, I drove back to face what came next. Julie sat on our couch looking destroyed eyes, swollen nearly shut from crying all night. Kyle had vanished completely. At least he possessed enough shame to disappear. Julie stood when she saw me, but I held up my hand before she could approach. We sat on opposite ends of the living room. She started talking, words tumbling out between sobs. It started 3 months earlier, she confessed. I worked such long hours on that project. She felt invisible, alone, neglected. Kyle was there every day. He listened when she talked. He made her laugh. One evening they shared wine, too much wine, and boundaries dissolved. Then it kept happening. I never planned this, Adam, she whispered. You were never home. I felt like I did not matter anymore. Kyle made me feel important. Hearing her blame my work for her choice to betray me felt like a second knife in my back. I asked one simple question. Do you love him? Silence filled the room. She stared at her hands for what felt like forever. Then she looked up, tears still falling, and said the words that ended everything. I do not know. I feel so confused. I stood up. I am filing for divorce. Her head snapped up in panic. No, Adam, please. We can fix this. Counseling, therapy, whatever it takes. Please do not give up on us. But there was no us anymore. I called a divorce attorney that afternoon. I thought that was rock bottom. Losing my marriage, my cousin's betrayal, the destruction of my home. But worse pain waited around the corner, the pain of family choosing sides against me. The day after discovering them, I called my parents. I needed someone in my corner, someone to validate that what happened was unforgivable, Mom answered. I told her everything, voice shaking. She gasped in shock. Oh, honey, that is just awful. I am so sorry this happened to you. Relief washed through me for just a moment. Then, Dad got on the line. Son, this is serious. We need to handle this as a family. Come to the house tomorrow. We will all sit down and talk through this. A family meeting. I assumed they wanted to support me, help me process this nightmare. I agreed to come the following day. That night I stayed in a cheap motel, unable to stomach being in that house. The next morning, I drove to my childhood home. I walked through the front door and stopped dead. Kyle sat on the love seat, head down. Julie occupied the armchair, tissues clutched in her fist. My parents stood near the fireplace. My uncle Kyle's father sat on the couch. My aunt Kyle's mother stood beside him. Everyone was there. This was not a support meeting for me. This was an intervention. I almost turned and walked right back out. But Dad said firmly, Adam, sit down. We need to work through this together. I sat on the only empty chair furthest from everyone else. The room felt suffocating. Nobody spoke for several long seconds. Julie cried quietly. Kyle studied the carpet like it held answers. My father cleared his throat. Adam, what happened is terrible. Nobody is denying that. But we are family, all of us. We have to find a way to move forward together. Mom nodded along. Julie made a very serious mistake. Kyle made a very serious mistake. But they both feel horrible about it. They want to make amends. I sat frozen, not believing what I heard. My uncle jumped in next. Kyle has been dealing with a lot of personal struggles. Depression, unemployment, feeling worthless. He was not in a good headspace. He made a terrible choice, but he is still your cousin. He is still family. My aunt added her piece. Adam, you and Julie have 4 years invested in your marriage. That is not something to just throw away. People make mistakes. Real love means working through the hard times. Then my father said the words that broke something inside me. Son, for the sake of keeping this family together, maybe you should think about forgiving them. We cannot have this tearing everyone apart. Family peace has to matter more than pride. Family peace. As if I was being proud rather than responding to betrayal. I looked around that room. Not one person met my eyes. They all looked down, away, anywhere but at me. Julie spoke up, voice trembling. Adam, I love you. What I did was horrible and unforgivable. But I want to fight for our marriage. I want to earn back your trust. Please give me that chance. Kyle finally raised his head. Bro, you have every right to hate me. I betrayed you in the worst way possible. But we have been family our whole lives. I am begging you not to throw that away. We can rebuild. We can get past this. Everyone nodded like this made perfect sense. Like I was being unreasonable for not immediately accepting their apologies. Mom reached over and touched my arm gently. Sweetheart, I know you are in pain, but divorce is so permanent. It will change everything. Maybe give this more time before making such a huge decision. I pulled my arm away and stood up. The entire room went silent. I looked at each person slowly, letting my gaze rest on every face that failed to support me. You want me to forgive them for family peace? I spoke slowly, making sure every word landed clearly. Let me explain what family peace actually means. Family means standing beside someone when they are hurt, not asking them to pretend the wound does not exist. Julie cheated on me in our bed. Kyle, who I gave a place to stay when nobody else would help him, betrayed me in my own home. And you are sitting here asking me to forgive them. Nobody responded. I kept talking. I am divorcing Julie. That decision is final. Kyle is dead to me. I will never speak to him again. I looked directly at my father. And if you cannot support me, if you are going to pick them over me, then I need space from all of you too. Dad stood up quickly. Adam, you are being emotional. You are not thinking straight. Do not make choices you will regret. I shook my head. No, Dad. I am thinking clearly for the first time since this nightmare started. I am choosing my own dignity. I am choosing self-respect over fake harmony. I refuse to be a doormat for people who do not value me. I walked toward the door. Mom called my name, voice breaking. Adam, please do not leave like this. We can talk more. Please. But I opened that door and stepped through it. I did not turn around. I got in my car and drove away from that house without a single glance backward. The months following that day tested every part of me. I rented a small apartment across town, wanting distance from every memory tied to my old life. I hired an aggressive divorce lawyer who understood I wanted this finished quickly and fairly. Julie attempted contact constantly, phone calls at all hours, emails filled with apologies and promises. She even appeared at my office twice before I informed security to keep her out. I blocked every method she had to reach me. Kyle sent a lengthy email trying to explain his actions, justify his choices, ask for forgiveness. I deleted it after reading only the opening lines. My parents called weekly, leaving voice messages asking me to reconsider my position, telling me I was destroying the family. But I was not the one who destroyed anything. They made that choice when they defended my betrayers. I channeled everything into my career. I volunteered for every difficult project. I stayed late, came in early, proved my worth repeatedly. My supervisor noticed my dedication and promoted me to senior engineer after 4 months. At least professional success came from this disaster. I also started a morning routine of hitting the gym before work. Running cleared my mind. Weight training gave me a sense of control when everything else felt chaotic. I reconnected with friends from college I had lost touch with over the years. When I told them what happened, their reactions were immediate support and anger on my behalf. They took me out on weekends, let me talk when I needed a vent, and gave me space when I needed silence. Their loyalty reminded me what real friendship looked like. The smartest decision I made was finding a therapist. Twice a week I sat in her office and unpacked everything. She helped me understand that Julie's choices were hers alone. Kyle's betrayal was his responsibility. My parents' failure to support me reflected their values, not mine. I could only control my own responses and boundaries. She taught me that choosing myself was not selfish. It was necessary survival. 8 months after I filed the divorce became final. Julie fought initially, hoping I would change my mind. Eventually, she accepted reality and signed the papers. We divided assets, sold the house, and severed all legal ties. Through mutual acquaintances, I heard Julie and Kyle attempted a relationship after the divorce finalized. It lasted roughly 8 weeks before Kyle cheated on her with someone he met at a bar. I felt absolutely nothing when that news reached me. No satisfaction, no vindication, just complete indifference. Julie tried reaching out again after Kyle left her, wanting to apologize properly, seeking closure, she called it. I never responded. I had already closed that chapter completely. Kyle moved back with his parents. Word was he still bounced between jobs, unable to commit to anything. My parents slowly began recognizing their mistake. About 13 months after I walked out of that family meeting, Mom sent a handwritten letter, 6 pages of apology. She admitted they were wrong to pressure me into forgiving Julie and Kyle. She wrote that they prioritized keeping everyone together over doing what was right. She said she missed me terribly and hoped someday I might let her back into my life. I did not reply immediately. I needed time to process whether I wanted them back at all. Eventually, after another 6 months passed, I agreed to meet Mom for coffee. The conversation was awkward, painful, honest. She apologized without making excuses or justifications. She simply acknowledged the harm they caused and said she understood if forgiveness was impossible. Dad joined our second meeting. Watching him apologize was harder. He is not comfortable with emotions or vulnerability, but he tried. He said he should have defended me, that he was wrong to value family peace over my pain. Their apologies mattered. But our relationship changed permanently. I could not return to the blind trust I once had. I established clear boundaries. We met occasionally for lunch or coffee. I kept conversations surface level. I never discussed my personal life deeply. I maintained distance from Kyle's parents entirely. As for Kyle himself, I have not spoken to him since that day. He does not exist in my world anymore. Around the same time I cautiously reconnected with my parents, I met Angela. A friend introduced us at a casual dinner party. She worked as a nurse in the emergency department downtown. We talked easily that night, laughing about shared interests in hiking and terrible horror movies. She asked for my number. I hesitated before giving it. I had been burned so badly that trusting felt impossible. But Angela proved patient. We went on casual dates, coffee, lunch, a movie. She never pushed for more than I could give. When I eventually told her about Julie and Kyle and my family's betrayal, she listened without judgment. She did not try to fix me or rush my healing. She just stayed present and supportive. Slowly, over many months, I began trusting again. Angela showed me what healthy love looks like. Honesty without games, respect without conditions, support without asking me to diminish myself. After dating for over a year, I realized something important. I was genuinely happy. Not performing happiness or convincing myself everything was fine. Actually deeply content. Angela made me feel valued and safe. Most importantly, she made me believe I could trust someone completely again. Now, 2 years after everything fell apart, my life looks completely different. I have a career I take pride in, friends who show up when it matters, and a partner who respects me fully. My relationship with my parents is healing slowly, built on new foundations of honesty and boundaries. They understand now that asking me to forgive Julie and Kyle was not about maintaining family unity. It was about avoiding uncomfortable truths and difficult conversations. Real family does not ask you to swallow your pain for their comfort. Real family stands with you when you are bleeding, not hands you a bandage, and asks you to get over it quietly. I learned that forgiveness does not mean accepting mistreatment. Sometimes the people who claim to love you most will fail you spectacularly. That does not make you wrong for walking away. Choosing yourself is not selfish. It is essential. I learned that pain cannot be skipped or rushed. You have to move through it, feel every sharp edge, and come out the other side changed but stronger. Most importantly, I learned that peace built on lies and forced forgiveness is not real peace. It is just pretending, and I am finished pretending. They wanted me to forgive for family peace. But I discovered something far more valuable than their version of peace. I found self-respect, clear boundaries, and the strength to demand better. That is something nobody can ever take from me. So let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where your family chose someone else over you, where the people who should protect you asked you to ignore your own pain? How did you handle it? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button.